Hello there, everybody. A very warm welcome to each one of you to PSTV. We are back again here with another interesting, another renewed episode of the fiction story writing masterclass. And yes, I can see so many hellos there in the chat box. Thanks for joining into the live today as well. We have a different genre, a different setup for today, and I'm going to walk you through all the easy steps on how you can be writing a short story in this particular genre that is under exploration for today. I'm your host, Sapna Mahadevan, and yes, let's start the journey together, right? So here it is, the fiction story writing masterclass. Mm, I am facing some technical glitch here. This is not getting streamed to one of the platforms there. Just give me 2 seconds to just check this out. Um, just a minute. Please bear with me. Okay. So, yes, let me take you further ahead into today's episode. Coming up, we have a gamut of activities planned for all of our dear viewers for today. And here are the activities that we are showcasing in today's episode, right? So, for the genre that's under consideration, I'll be giving you tips on how you can be establishing those essentials. That means that elements which are really prerequisites, and you would definitely want to think about them, focus on all of these elements while you are writing this particular genre. Yes. And I will also deep dive into the topic and let you know more about some expert tips on how you can be establishing those essentials in the first place, right? Apart from those essentials, there, we are also going to focus on the plot building pointers. So, as we know, that for every story that we read or maybe that we are attempting to write, we need a strong plot which takes the narrative forward, right? So to craft a plot which is interesting and engaging and absorbing all at the same time for our audiences, what are the elements that we really need to think about? This is what we will be seeing in the plot building pointers and the plot tips as well. Apart from that, we have fun segments planned as always. There is guess the movie, there is a think like a pro segment. There are jumbled words as well. There's a synonymous segment to which aims at amplifying your vocabulary. And finally, in the ending of the episode, we also have a recommendation of the day. And all throughout the episode, there would be icebreaker questions that will keep popping in every now and then, right? So this is how the episode looks like for today. And let's get started. Let's get going to the first icebreaker question that we have for today. Quite an easy one. Do you like roses? Is the first question that I have for my icebreaker. And quickly do write your answers out in the chat box here. It's open for all of you to write your comments, share your thoughts, and I'm hoping to have a lot of answers here. Do you like roses? Is the simple question that comes up here for our first icebreaker. Yes. And I, for one, really love roses. Who doesn't love roses, isn't it? Great. And yes is the answer that I get here as I was contemplating. And let me, okay, so let me delete it on this platform. Okay, so something's amiss today. I think I have taken care of that for now. I'm so sorry for this technical glitch here today. But yes, I am getting comments in the chat box. Yes is the answer that all of you give me here. Thanks for all of those answers. Yay is one of the comments there. Great. And thumbs ups and emojis. Thanks a lot for all of those comments in the chat box. And let's get going to our next question or the next segment. Let's check out what do we have next? And yes, here is the golden question that we have for today. What's the genre, right? So let me tell you all that it is comedy that we are going to see for today. It's one genre where everything stems from the writer's imagination. It is fictional, of course, but it consists of works which are intended to be humorous. So we want our audiences to have a laughter riot. We want our story to be rib tickling. At the same time, what is the subgenre is something that we definitely want to know about, right? Here is the subgenre for the day, which is action. So action, of course, talks about violence. And now you might be thinking how these both of these elements are going to go together, right? So that is what our genre is for today. There has to be a seamless blend of action along with humor, right? So this is going to be one of the most explored subgenres in the world of cinemas and stories. We often see that action and humor is combined together seamlessly, and that's what gives us this amalgamation of this genre here. And what we need to do here to create a story which has both of these genres together, you have to have an undeniable link to each other. So that means that if the comedy wasn't in place, then the action wouldn't be as good. And if the action wasn't good, then the same would go for the comedy as well, right? So that's how this genre explores the relationship between comedy and humor in a subtle kind of a way. But of course, it is rip tickling, and also it has doses of violence at the same time, right? So that is what our genre is for today. It is called action comedy. And let me take you through another icebreaker question that we have here. Name your favorite fruit. So that's quite easy again. Do quickly write out your favorite fruit in the chat box there. Anushka tells me that that's a repeat question. Yes, Anushka. So that's a repeat. We have various different audiences from different parts of the globe every day. So, yes, you might want to answer that question again. Your favorite fruit. Okay, mango coming up there. I have apples as well, bananas, mango, watermelon. Okay, great. Um, Yes, and a wide variety of fruits in my chat box there. Let me tell you, I really love kiwis and custard apples. Those are my favorites. A bit difficult to eat up those custard apples, but yes, that's something that I really love. And too many answers here, all of you liking apples, bananas, mangoes. Great. Thanks again for all of these responses to the icebreaker question. And let me now move ahead to establishing those essentials, right? So, to write an action comedy, there are three definite elements in every action comedy story that we would want to focus on. And let me show you all of those three elements here. The first one is the protagonist, and then we have the setting and also the incident, right? Now, let's look at what each of these entails, and you will have a better idea of what you can be incorporating into your story for each of these elements here. Yes, so the first element that we have here is the protagonist, right? So these are central characters in our story, people or characters who are going to take your story forward, right? Now, in the fictional genre, we always see there are all sorts of characters present. There is a hero or a charming personality there who is at the helm of the affairs of the story. And of course, there is a clash of interest that the hero has with the villain, that is the anti-hero in our plot. And we also have women actors or woman-centric roles in our story these days, where heroines also play a significant role, right? So you can think about all of these characters in your story there are no restrictions, there are no limitations. But of course, since we are talking about humor here, we need characters who are humorous enough, people in the group who are witty and humorous, and who can crack jokes now and then to keep the audiences in a split, right? So these are the protagonists that we have in our story: a villain, a hero or a heroine, that is a male or a female character who is central to the story's plot. And also we see that there are characters who might play a side role in our story, but they are witty and humorous, and because of their narrative, the story gets rib tickling feel to it, right? So these are one of the first essentials in our story, the protagonist. And now for the second essentials, let's move ahead to the setting, right? So as we all know, setting means the sense of place. And when we talk about the method in which storytelling or story writing is done, setting is always one of those imperative elements that we need to consider while we are writing a story. Yes. So the sense of place for our action comedy story can be any place. It is again not limited and not restricted. It could be anywhere, maybe in towns. Once again, in towns or cities or jungles. And this setting, you can also try and give a natural touch to it, where the readers could resonate with your words, right? So make your setting or the place that you're going to describe in your story relatable for your audiences, right? Relatable in such a way that they resonate with your ideas, with your description of the place, right? And that's again going to make them more and more have your audiences connect to your story on a more personal level, right? So that's what we want to do here. The setting again is not limited, it's not restricted to any certain place. It could be anywhere. Again, depends on you as a creative writer, how is your story going to take place, and depending on what is the main plot in your story, the setting will follow, right? And just keep in mind that you want your audiences to have a personal connect with the visual description that you're going to give in your story, right? Now, with that being said and done, let's move ahead to the next element, which is the incident, right? Now, there should be a common incident or a goal that's going to regulate the whole plot, something that ties the whole plot together. Yes. Now, for example, there might be a group of characters who are running for the same thing, running behind the same motive, and there are antagonists who are striving for it too, right? Now, when you think about this, there is going to be a clash of interest because both of these parties are behind the similar motives, and who wins is something that your audiences would really like to see in the end, right? And that is also going to, in a way, bring about the drama through the action, right? And put one or two characters into your story who are witty and who have that flair of humor in them, and it gives you comedy as well in your story, right? So that's a perfect assimilation of comedy along with action, right? Now, these were the three elements we saw in establishing the essentials. That is the incident, the common goal behind which all of these characters are tied with, and also we saw who are going to be the protagonist of our story, and also how we can be giving a sense of place to our audiences, right? So these were the three essentials that we spoke about while writing an action comedy. And now for the first synonymous word, we have striving, right? So for the people who have joined me in today's episode for the first time, let me tell you that these synonymous or Google it words are introduced into the episode with the aim of amplifying your vocabulary. It's kept here in these episodes so that you get a hang of more and more newer words, new vocabulary for usage while you're speaking in the English language, right? So the first word that we have here is striving, and you can jot all of these words down in your Google It journal, or in any place for that matter, in one place, so that it forms as a ready reckoner in few days, right? So you would have a repository of words that you can keep checking, and you can um, you know create a good vocabulary from all of these words. Try remembering these words and try using them in your daily usage, right? So this is the first word in our synonymous segment, striving. And let me tell you the synonyms for striving, or similar word meanings for striving or strive, would be try, endeavor, or attempt, right? So these are the synonyms for striving: trying, endeavoring, or even attempting, right? Now, with that, let me move ahead to the next icebreaker question. And the question is right there onto my screen. What do you like to have for dinner? That's the next question that comes up here. Quickly in the chat box, what is the your favorite dish, your favorite go-to dish that you would like to have for dinner? Yes. um okay, I have Prachi saying hi there. Hello, Prachi. Good evening to you. Anshul, yes. Anshul says she would like to have pizza anytime. Great. Pizza with healthy toppings. Lovely. I love that. Pizza is the one answer that I have there. I think I for that for if I think about this, then for dinner, I would definitely have like to have something which is based on maybe a rice dish. Yes. Mm, pulao or biryani maybe. Okay, and we have noodles come up next. Dafia says noodles are her favorites. Lovely. So noodles in dinner or maybe pizza, right? Great. We have thumbs up coming up there. And anything light is another response that I get there. Great. So thanks a lot for all of those responses there. Lovely. And let's move ahead to the next segment. We have here expert tips on establishing the essentials, right? And now again, there is a prompt that I'm getting here. Just please excuse me for a little while. Um, okay. Okay. So we move ahead to the expert tips in establishing the essentials. And the first expert tip that I have here, um, there it is on the screen. So whenever you're writing comedy, the first thing that you need to know is what are the mistakes that you shouldn't be doing, right? So first, make sure that the humor originates from the character. Random slapstick can get a laugh, but if not timed right, it can be distracting, right? So the timing always is of essence while you're writing comedy. Second thing that we need to observe or we need to notice is that always take time to think about what will be the emotional beat of the scene, right? Now, comedy should be working for you, not against you. So, in the action comedy genre, it's not enough for a joke to simply make you laugh, right? So, what you need to do is you need to take time to think about the purpose of that joke there, and this is going to help putting everything in perspective. It is also going to help in having a certain balance for your story. So don't place the joke there just because it is a comedy genre and you want people to laugh, but the joke should be placed in such a timing, in such a manner that it serves a purpose in your story, right? So that's one expert tip here. And now, for the second expert tip, you can also give your characters a sense of humor, particularly the central character of your story. Now, the central character or the protagonist whose viewpoint you're likely to be writing for the plot, if their voice can have a comedy tone to the story in a natural way, then it's going to help for your story, right? Now, for example, the protagonist can make a funny observation about events, about daily life, or maybe about situations or other characters whom they find amusing in the story, right? And that's how we get humor induced into our story plot. So, that is again one of the ways in which humor can be introduced into your story. You can have your central character um, having attributes like being witty, being humorous in a natural way. And when they have their narrative going into their story, humor is going to be automatically introduced into our plot, right? So these were expert tips on establishing the essentials. And let me now take you through the second word in our synonymous segment, which is amusing. So synonyms for amusing would be entertaining, funny, and even comical. Now, jot all of those words down in your Google It journal and make full use of these synonymous words that we showcased in our episode today, right? Amusing, which means entertaining, funny, or comical, right? Now let's move ahead to our next icebreaker question. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever been given? That's the next question that we have here. And let me see what are the interesting answers that I get here. One best piece of advice that you have ever been given. That's the question here. I'm going to give you time to type out your answers. And one best piece of advice that I always remember, and which was given to me by someone special, was that, which I really follow, is that. We really should not worry a lot, and sometimes things happen at their own normal pace, so it doesn't actually work if I worry about things, right? So that's something, one best piece of advice that I always try to follow. I do get fidgety sometimes, but this piece of advice from one of my loved ones is something that really calms me, right? So don't ever worry, because things happen at their own pace. We can just give our best shot, always put our best foot forward, but then leave everything else to God's hands, right? So that's one best piece of advice that I have um, heard. And I would want all of you to write one of those advices that you would have gotten, right? And I'm sure that all of you would have got one or the other advice. Yes. Um, I have one of the comments here that you always need to work hard is one best piece of advice that Dafia has got. Yes, that's great. Of course, we need to work hard. That's a very good advice that you have got. Thanks for sharing that, Dafia. Okay. What else? So I'm going to give you time to write out your answers here, and I'm going to move ahead to the next segment, which is the movie title trivia, right? So here you need to try and guess these action comedy movie titles from the pictures that I'm going to show you. There is the first one for the day. It's a Bollywood movie, humorous and filled with action at the same time. So, quickly in the chat box, if you can give me responses here in the chat box. That is right. It is the movie Dhamal. Okay, so let's move ahead to our second picture here. There it is. What is the name of this movie? Are there any answers coming up there? Okay, so there's a question mark, and let me reveal that answer out. It is Birds of Prey. That was the second movie in our series here. Let me move ahead now to the next picture, the third one. So let's check if you can give me answers for this one here. Okay, so that's another Bollywood favorite. And it is a series which always has us in splits, right? And that is correct. It is Golmaal Unlimited. Great. So let's move ahead to the next one here quickly. There it is onto the screen. And that's one popular movie there. I think I'm going to get a lot of responses here. Thumbs ups coming up here in the chat box. And that's right, it is Spider-Man Far From Home. Great. There is the answer. And moving ahead to the next one. Anshul is giving me almost all correct answers there. That's the next one that you can see on the screen. Can you guess the name of this movie? Okay, so let me reveal the answer there. There it is. It is Khiladi 786. And now for the last one for the day. Brace yourselves for this one. This is going to be the last movie picture for the day. There it is. Has it come up onto the screen? Yes, there it is. Okay. Some stellar actors there. And another franchisee that we all love watching, series of movies. That is correct. It is, of course, Fast and Furious. Great. With that, we come to the end of our movie title trivia. And um, let me now move ahead to the next segment. And the next segment that we have here, one second, here it is. We have plotting the plot come up next. So yes, so for now, let's also look at how we can be writing an interesting plot for our story and how essentially we will be able to assimilate both of these genres together, the action as well as the humor, and try and balance it out perfectly, right? So the three elements that we are going to check out here for our action comedy, there it is. First one is building up the plot, and then we have circling the incident, and finally the end, right? So the first element, building up the plot, always the essence of good comedy is slowly getting up to build that absurdity, right? So initially what we need to portray in our story is that everything is normal, more or less normal maybe. There's a normal family, there is a normal situation, normal group of friends who are facing ordinary situations, and all of these situations the audience can really relate to, right? Now at each step of the plot, things just get a little more ridiculous, a little more absurd, and that's how it slowly, gradually builds up to that level of absurdity, right? And when you write comedy with, that slow build up of absurdity and with the perfect precision and timing, it's going to really be a it's going to really be a good comedy that you're going to deliver, right? So the first step is always to map out how you can gradually build up to that level of craziness. Yes. So this is the about the building up to the plot. Initially, keep everything normal so that your audiences can relate to it, and slowly and gradually build up to that level of craziness and absurdity, right? So that's one of the elements here in plotting the plot. And now circling the incident is that you can always give an impressive storyline to your story by seeing to it that you have a balance of all the comical elements, right? So what you can do there for that perfect balance or the perfect sync between your comedy elements is that maybe you can think about one main incident that you're going to focus on, and then try and make all of your comic elements revolve around this one incident and tie all of them together, right? So if it is a treasure hunt or a love conflict, maybe you can frame a central plot around which all of the subplots revolve, right? So swoop in the action and the rivalry, chivalrous fights, kicks and punches, all of these action drama. You can um, pack a punch into your story, into your subplot, but see to it that your main plot is something which is out there for your audiences to see. And you are going to circle that incident, circle that main plot with all of your subplots, which will have a lot of drama through the action and the comedy elements, right? So show that your hero has the strength to fight for the good, right? Now this is all about circling the incident. That means that have a main incident there, have a main subplot, and make your comedy and action elements revolve around that main plot by the way of subplots. Yes. Now after that, plotting the plot element there. We have the third element, which comes up next, which is the ending, right? So every story we are going to talk about how it ends, what's the resolution, whatever was that conflict in our story, how did it come to a resolution, right? So why, since we are talking about action comedy, we want our story to end on a happy note, and your readers should close the book with a smile onto their faces. Action comedies in no way can end on a sad note, right? So be as happy you can be with your ending, reward the goodness and punish the wise. So that's something that we need to focus on while we are ending our story. The climax of our story needs to be in such a way that our audiences go back satisfied, they go back laughing and smiling. And with that, we move ahead to the next synonymous word, which is chivalrous, right? So chivalrous would also have synonyms gallant, valiant, and brave. And we have a deliberate typo there onto our screen. And if any one of you can figure out which is the word that's spelled out wrong, then that's really kudos to you all. So quickly in the chat box, if you can let me know which is the word that is spelled wrong. And the synonyms for chivalrous are gallant, valiant, and brave. So, yes, we also understand the meaning of the word valiant and chivalrous because it is same as brave. And instead of using brave, you can now onwards try and use the various synonyms like valiant and chivalrous um, in your vocabulary, right? And Prisha gives me the correct answer. Valiant should be Valiant. That's correct. Thanks a lot for that. So you have a keen observation there. Great. And let's move ahead to one of the other segments that we have come up here. It is again a fun segment planned for all of you, and that is the Think Like a Pro segment, right? So, here I want to know whether you all are riddle enthusiasts and if you can try answering these short riddles which are filled with brevity, right? So, they are crisp and concise, and let me see if you can answer these riddles for me. The first riddle coming up here: if you threw a white stone into the Red Sea, what would it become? That's the first question. And since we have a comedy genre here today, these questions are really funny. We you can think of amusing answers as well, and not to be taken seriously at all. These are funny riddles, and I would like to know that if you threw a white stone into the Red Sea, then what would it become? Okay. Joseph tells me it is, of course, not going to change color. Of course, it is not. So, what's the answer? Think about it. What will happen if I throw a white stone into the Red Sea? Smiley's coming up here. Okay, so let me give you that answer. The stone will become wet. That's what it will become. Yes, so that was a funny riddle there and a funny answer. Yes. So, think on those lines now for the second riddle. Here it comes. Before Mount Everest was discovered, what was the highest mountain in the world, or which was the highest mountain in the world? That's the next question here. Think about this one. Before Mount Everest was discovered, which was the highest mountain in the world? Okay, Varun, that's the correct answer. And yes, it was Mount Everest still, because although it was not discovered, it was still there, right? Yes, that is the correct response. And moving on to the third one, what did the apples say to the banana? Think about this. What can apples say to the banana? I can't hold my laughter here. That's such a funny response. I don't know if you can even think about that answer there. What did the apple say to the banana? Give me the answer, is what Dafia tells me. Okay. Really curious to know the answer, isn't it, Dafia? So I'm going to reveal the answer. Nothing, apples don't talk. That's the answer for this Think Like a Pro riddle here. And I can clearly see that you all find this amusing, right? There are so many emojis, smileys coming up, popping up here in my chat box. Lovely. Great. So let's move ahead into our next segment. Thanks a lot for being a participative audience here. And I'm going to move ahead to the expert tips on building up those interesting plot segments. The first expert tip that I have here is that the situations that the characters find themselves in, it can really be amusing, and it is often very successfully used in sitcoms. Like if you have watched the series Friends, right? We see a lot of situation play around that brings about the humor in all of those plots. And the danger here is making the situation slapstick in an unbelievable way, with all of the characters acting out the plot that's being manipulated to generate a laugh, right? So, whatever is the comedy that you're going to include in your story, it should in no way feel unnatural or disengaging to your reader. While common in sketch shows, this is not appropriate for a short story. Readers expect more depth. So, when you are going to introduce a joke or a one liner in your story, then see to it that it, somehow holds to the purpose of the story, and it does not come out of nowhere, right? So, that's the first expert tip. And the second expert tip that we have here is that what the characters say and how they would react to a particular situation can be really funny. So you can always focus on the humor element in your story by way of the friendly banter or silly banter that happens between the characters of your story. The dialogue is one of the methods that's most frequently used to add humor into a story, right? Now, while that is amusing, the main purpose of the speech is to reveal the story, develop the characters, and at the same time, have your audiences pass a smile through that dialogue delivery, right? So these are some of the expert tips that we have here for you to while you're writing an action comedy story. And whenever you are at it, think about the whole plot and the main event, which around which your comedy subplot is going to revolve, right? And these were some of the expert tips. Let's move ahead to the next synonymous word. The word that we have here is reveal, and synonyms for reveal would be disclose, display, or show, right? So these are the synonyms for the word reveal. Do jot them down. Look out for the meaning in Google, or maybe more traditionally in a dictionary, and jot down all of those words so that you can use them next time whenever you want to show you a letter maze. And quickly, you need to give me um, 5 words that are hidden in this letter maze. And let me tell you that all of these words are from today's episode. So you might have heard these words maybe in the essentials or the plot building pointers, or these could be the synonymous words that we have had in today's episode. Some way or the other, they are linked to action comedy, right? So check for all of these words, have an eagle's vision, and quickly give me answers in the chat box there. 5 words that you need to find out hidden in this letter maze. And these words could be written horizontally, diagonally, or even vertically, right? So I'm going to wait for your answers there. Yes, that is correct. We have got a couple of words in the chat box already. Um, yes, comic is right. Action, that's correct again. Okay, so let me reveal those answers there. The first one we have is comic, that's correct. We also have love come up there. So love also could be one of the angles that you're going to explore for your story. There's action, of course, oodles of action and comedy in our story. Vice is one of the words. And the last fifth word that we have here is punch, right? Related to action. Yes, so thanks again for attempting all of these answers here. And a big round of applause for attempting most of the answers, right? And for giving the correct answers in the chat box. So, yes, let's move ahead with our next segment. It is recommendation of the day. And we have one famous author there, Ruskin Bond. And the name of the book that we have as a recommendation of the day today is Book of Humor by Ruskin Bond. Yes, check out that book. It's really going to make you laugh. That's a guarantee. So, Book of Humor, written by Ruskin Bond, recommendation of the day for today, right? Now, we come to the end of our episode. And before I end the broadcast, I'm going to give you a quick roundup of all the learnings that we have had in today's episode so that you can be doing your project work where you write your first draft of action comedy story, right? So, first things first, we have the essentials. So, we are going to think about who are the protagonists. It could be the central characters that you have in your story, and you can try and give them a flair for humor so that the narrative itself in a natural kind of a way has humor introduced into the story. Then the setting or the sense of place that we want our audiences to experience could be anywhere depending on what your story plot is all about. And then, of course, we have the incident, which is going to regulate the whole story plot, and it's going to tie up all of those subplots together, right? Now, after these essentials, the plot building pointers, we need to slowly and gradually build up to the level of craziness and absurdity in our story. So initially, you can be showcasing that everything is normal, all the situations are relatable to your audiences, and then gradually, as the story progresses, you can try and level up the craziness and the absurdity to bring about the humor in your story, right? And of course, we also have circling the incident. That means a main plot around which all of your subplots are going to circle. And then finally, the ending, we want our audiences to go back smiling when they close the book, right? Since it is a comedy genre that we are talking about, right? So have the ending of the story on a, have a happy ending for your story. And with that, we come to the project work that I would strongly encourage each one of you to be doing. Um, Trust your abilities, have faith in yourself, and go ahead, pen your thoughts, try and brainstorm on ideas that you have for first draft of your action comedy story, right? And you can always check back on this video, think about all of the essentials and the interesting plot building pointers that we spoke about in today's episode, and try writing your first draft of action comedy story, right? And for tomorrow, let me tell you, I would be back again with the genre of horror. And I would encourage all of you to join my live tomorrow as well at 6 p.m. India time. That's the time I come live. And until the time we meet next, I'm Sapna Mahadevan signing out. And I want all of you to take good care of yourselves, stay safe, be happy. Bye bye.